Hey, what's up? My name's Alea. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another reading vlog. So normally I would not start off a vlog in my car. However, it has already been quite the day. We are 4 days out from our wedding, and I'm going a little feral, a little more feral than I thought. I went into work today, and I was there for like 2 hours, and then I was like totally overwhelmed. And I went to my boss and just tears, just lost it in her office. I've heard when you plan a wedding, you know, at some point you have a mental breakdown. Today was the day. So that was fun. And she was like, don't even worry about it. Just start your leave now for the wedding. Don't worry about work. Go do your thing, girl. We got it. Don't worry about anything. Everything's going to be great with your wedding. Just go do whatever you need to do. No worries. Totally chill. She made me tea. Oh my God. She's an icon. Anyways, so I thought I might start a little vlog because I am kind of feral. And I kind of need to do something creative like vlogging, but also I need to finish prepping for the wedding. First we're gonna go to Michael's because I need to get some stuff for like decorating some of the tables, and I also want to get some fall decor. I'd really like this to be like a fun little fall vlog. You probably won't see it until after my wedding, so it probably won't be up till, you know, who knows when, but I want to get ready for fall too, because after the wedding it's basically like Halloween time is coming. So I want to decorate my bookshelves and stuff, so I might get some things from Michael's to kind of decorate, like some new little like fall banners or leaves or decor or whatever. And I also have a couple fall releases I want to read in this vlog. Oh my God, somebody's car alarm is going off again. Great, good. That feels right. That feels good. Anyways, so 2 books that I'm thinking about reading for this vlog. There's this new fall release coming out September 27th, and it's called If You Give a Lawyer a Kiss. So this is the same author who wrote this really cool Christmas novella that I read last year, and I loved it. The spicy scenes were so good. There's a really good like family in here that's very close knit with like siblings and stuff. And this fall one is not part of that series, I don't think. I think it might be like the beginning of a spin-off series or like a standalone or something, but the covers go along with like that other novella series. So I'm not sure exactly what the connection is, but I'll look into it and let you know. But I really want to read this because I know this author is really good, and nobody's been talking about this book. I feel like I'm the only one who gives a shit. And then the other one I really want to read is a new horror anthology, and I think it's called Of the Flesh, 18 like horror stories. And the cover got me, obviously, because I'm a big Mayfly fan, and the eyeball, I mean, it's been like the year of spooky eyeballs with horror. And honestly, every book I've read with a creepy eyeball on the cover I've loved and given like 4.5 or 5 stars. So I really want to read this collection. And so we're going to start there with those couple of books. The short story collection comes out, I think like October 7th. And so that will be like at the tail end of our honeymoon. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of like some books I want to read, some stuff I want to do. I really need to go to Michael's and just like have a fun little outing to like get my mind off of the crazy. And we're also going to work on some stuff for the wedding that's kind of crafty. So one thing we're doing for our wedding is we're painting our own big wood cornhole boards. And so my friend Noelle came over the other day and did one with us that's like a sunflower one, and it turned out really good. But we need to do the second one, and we want to do like a sunset on the top and then like some pumpkins and leaves and stuff on the bottom. And so we'll have like this custom cornhole board set, which is really cool. But I need to do some painting. We have all the supplies for that already, so I need to get on that. And other than that, we're just gonna hang out. I might do some like fun fall baking or whatever. So without any further ado, let's get into the vlog. Rigby. Hi. Watching the apocalypse? That's fun. Hi. Rigby. Brrr. Hi, chicken doodle. Hello, so Rigby and I are having a snuggle. I wanted to give you a little update. So since I saw you last, I've gotten married, I've gone on a honeymoon, I've read some books. So I started reading the fall romance that I wanted to pick up for this vlog, and I think it's called When You Give a Lawyer a Kiss. I got 50% in, and I was reading it on reading sprints with Sam and Richie, and I decided to DNF it because the dialogue was really cringy and it was just trying to do too many things. So it opens with our main gal, Reese, and she goes on this really bad date. It's like a Tinder date or whatever. If you hear purring, Mr. Rigby has awoken from his slumber. Anyways, she goes on this awful date. She decides to run away from the restaurant because the guy's being really creepy and weird, and runs down the street, finds the only shop that's open on the street is a tattoo shop, and she dips inside, and they're like basically closing up, but the main tattoo artist guy is still there, and his name's Dawson. She has no idea who he is. He's like tall and broody and hot and has tattoo sleeves, and they end up having like a really hot makeout session or whatever.
Do ya? You think you know how to kiss? You know how to lock lips? Huh? Do ya?
And then she gets nervous and leaves. And then flash forward to her going into work at this new job, and she is a like paralegal at a law firm, and she gets this prestigious job at this like really fancy law firm in New York. She goes in for her first day and realizes that the guy who owns the whole firm is the guy she made out with at the tattoo shop, Dawson. And apparently he is secretly a tattoo artist at this tattoo shop, but he doesn't want anybody to know that he works there. So he goes by like a different name at the shop, and he is like worried that she's going to tell everybody at the law firm that he's secretly a tattoo artist, because he doesn't want his like big lawyer clients or whatever to like think that he's lesser because he's a tattoo artist. Anyways, whatever. Basically, it's like a kind of a power imbalance because she is working for him and he insists that she get moved to his team even though she says no, and he's very like pushy, and it's kind of interesting, but their dynamic is kind of fun, and they do have some like good banter and stuff, but towards like the middle of the book it just got really cringy and I didn't like it, and it was just trying to do too much. It was like a boss-employee romance, workplace romance, kind of enemies to lovers, but also this power imbalance thing is happening, and he's a tattoo artist, and he's a lawyer, and he's a billionaire, and she's like broke and working 2 jobs, and he's really kind of the jealous type and was like getting jealous of her gay guy friend and stuff, and it's like, honey, he's gay, like calm down. Like he goes to her work when she's working as like a waitress at a club, and he tells her that she should like quit her job and stuff. It's like, dude, that's not your like business. Anyways, whatever. It got annoying and frustrating, so I decided to DNF it. And it was supposed to be like a fall romance, like the cover looks very fall and whatever, and she like drinks the pumpkin spice latte, and that's like the most fall that's in this whole book. So whatever, I'm gonna put that down. I'm disappointed because I really was excited for that one, and I read that author's Christmas novella last winter, and I really enjoyed it, and it was really spicy and good. And so I don't really know what happened with this one. It kind of fell flat, and I'm kind of surprised that I didn't enjoy it because I liked her other books so much. And also it says that this is a standalone, but it's referencing a lot of characters that were in that Christmas novella, which is all in a different series. So it's like set in the same world, but it like directly references the other characters, as in like the main guy, Dawson's best friend, is one of the brothers from the other series that she has. So that was kind of weird as well. I thought this was going to be like a full standalone. So anyways, that was kind of a flop. But I also started the horror anthology that I wanted to read. It's called Of the Flesh, 18 Stories of Modern Horror. And I'm 2 stories in, and they were both really good. So the first one's about a woman who had an affair with a married guy while the guy's husband was dying of cancer. And then his wife passes away and comes back to haunt her. And it's really kind of juicy because our main character purposefully knew that like the wife's dying wish was that she didn't want to die alone, and she knew they were having an affair and she didn't really care, but she made the husband promise he was going to be there when she passed away. And the mistress girl saw his phone blowing up from the wife saying like, hey, I think this is it, like I'm at the end, I need you to come and be with me, like I'm about to die. And she deleted the messages and then went and slept with him on purpose so that he wouldn't be there when his wife died. Girl, I hope that ghost girl kicks your ass, because how awful do you have to be to do that to somebody? Oh my god. Rigby thinks it's atrocious too. Anyway, so that was really juicy. And the second story was about these people in the society where they don't have hands or feet. They have like bone nubs that they like walk around on, but it's really like taboo in the society to walk around like that. And so you are supposed to wear like pears, which is like fake hands and feet over your nubs when you're like in society. And there's this procedure called getting matching pairs that you can do, where you can get like hands and feet permanently like sewn onto your body, but it can also give you like infections and make you really sick and stuff. So like really ritzy people do it. It's seen almost as like having like a body enhancement, almost like a boob job or something like that. But there's our main character who's really kind of like against doing it, but she's been like having all of these things she does at work that are kind of like pushing against the social norms, like trying to run around with just her bone nubs, and her employer is getting like really mad, and so they try to force her to like get this procedure to get like permanent ones. And it's creepy and weird and really good also. Anyways, each story in this collection is from a different author, but so far the first 2 have been really, really good, and I'm really excited to continue. So that's kind of where we're at. Also, the wedding went really good. I kind of decided to not film that just because we were so busy traveling and everything, and I kind of wanted to keep it like a personal thing. So I'm picking up on all of my vlogs where I kind of left off. And also, right after we got back from the honeymoon, we decided to adopt a second kitten. And so this is Miss Nellie. I will definitely introduce you guys in a little bit. We're keeping her and Rigby separate still because they're still like getting to know each other and stuff, and they're not like friends yet per se. So we kind of have a house divided at the moment. But anyways, I will show you guys Nellie up close and personal here pretty soon. But I think that's where I'm going to leave it for right now. Tomorrow we're going to go have some adventures, and I'm probably going to start a couple other novels tomorrow, and I will update you then. Turtles are mammals, or turtles are all amphibians? What are turtles? We found a turkey. That's crazy. The turkey just flew into that tree. Look how big he is. Mr. Turkey. Hello, sir. The turkey vlog. Where's the squirrel?
It's like a branch above him. He's like trying to get to
Oh my gosh, I see the squirrel. The turkey and the squirrel are battling in the arb. We've stumbled upon a turkey-squirrel battle. They're having a Mexican standoff in the tree. Fabulous. The turkey and the squirrel have met on the branch. Perhaps they are in love. It's hard to tell.
The squirrel juked the turkey.
The turkey is now by himself, being sad. Hi, little Miss Ma'am. How are you doing? You are so cute. Sweet girl. Sweet girl. Hey, you can't want to eat my iPad. Oh, monkey. Lola, hi, sweet girl. My sweet girl. Where's Dapper? Where's Dapper? Oh my goodness. We're just a cutie patootie. Yeah. Hello, I have a reading update for you. So since I DNF'd a book in this vlog, I decided to start a couple other books because otherwise, I would just be reading a short story collection, and that's great, but I want to read some more novels. So I started this new release on Kindle Unlimited, and it's called How to Summon a Fairy Godmother. So this is really good so far. I'm like halfway through, and we're following this main girl, Theo, and she is one of the wicked stepsisters to Cinderella in the story. It's kind of a Cinderella retelling, but it's pretty loose. It's pretty different than that. The Cinderella girl in here, her name is Beatrice, and sorry if you hear running, Nellie has the zoomies. Anyways, she basically was living with these stepsisters and the stepmom, and she said that they treated her really terribly, which is kind of true. And then she decided to summon a fairy, and then ended up going to the ball and getting married to the prince and the whole deal. And so now the stepmom and the stepsisters are like banned from the palace. Everybody hates them because the princess girl Beatrice went and like talked a bunch of shit about them. And so we're getting the POV from our main character Theo, who's the youngest of the girls, and she is basically saying that like Beatrice is a liar and that really she's like not the victim that everybody says she is. And so we get to see as Theo is set up in this arranged marriage by her mom, and her mom arranges for her to marry this Duke guy who is like in his 70s and she's like 18, and he's just foul, and he's got kids from previous marriages. He's been married like 4 times. All of his wives have died, and Theo is like, this guy is nasty and I do not want to marry him. He's disgusting. He calls her ugly and he's super rude to her and stuff. And so she goes to her mom and is like, I don't want to do this marriage. And the mom is like, he's a duke, deal with it, like I've sacrificed so much for you, whatever. And so Theo is like trying to figure out how to get out of this. And she goes to Beatrice's old room and finds the spell to summon a fairy. And she decides that she's going to summon the same fairy and see if, since that lady got Beatrice into a marriage, if she can get Theo out of one. And the story kind of goes from there. So the fairy godmother lady is not like your classic, like, cheery, grandmothery type fairy lady. No, she's like a saucy gal. She smokes a pipe and she drinks a lot of wine and she wears like skimpy silk dresses, and she's just an icon. And she's got 2 familiars, Phineas and Kaz. One is a bird shifter and one is a fox shifter, and they end up making this deal with Theo, and she basically tells the fairy, I don't want to do this marriage. And the fairy is like, well, that's a big ask, so you're gonna have to prove to me that you're a good person. And so she makes Theo do these 3 tasks, and if she completes all the tasks, then she gets her wish. And the fairy godmother is like pretty against her because this lady heard how awful she was from Beatrice. And so she's like, whatever, like this is a big bargain, but I'll take it. And so then Theo gets swept into this whole fairy world to do these tasks, and she meets some different fairy people. She meets some elves. She meets this like evil gnome guy who stabs her with a little like hand trowel thing. It's a whole thing, but this is a really good book. It's really well written. It's also the first in a series, which I didn't realize till I got farther into it, but it's really, really good. And our main character Theo, at the beginning I was like, I'm not super like sucked into the story. Like it took a full like 10% to really get into it. And I think that was because at the beginning, like, you know, she's the evil stepsister, but she seems like she's not evil enough for you to be like, oh, I'm rooting for the villain, but she's not good enough for you to be like, okay, this, you know, makes sense why the fairy would take her up on this bargain. And so as the story goes on, you kind of realize that like she's not evil. She's not like maybe the kindest, but she's a bad bitch, and she has this like sassy attitude, and she will like go for the throat verbally, and she really like cuts people down to size, and she's awesome, and I love her. And as the story goes on, you get to kind of see her come out of her shell. There's a lot of bells happening. But she's great, and she also has kind of like a love triangle going on. So she and the fox shifter Kaz, who's like the familiar of the fairy lady Cecily, they have this like really fun banter going on. And then when she's in the fairy world, she meets this fairy guy named Lachlan, and he's a hottie, and they have some like spicy little kissing scenes and stuff. So if you like scenes with like hot fairy men at like parties where they're playing music and stuff and dancing, like it's very atmospheric, it's very fun. There's a lot of good banter in here. It's well written. The main character Theo is feisty, and she doesn't take shit from people, and she's like, you know what, if everybody wants to say that I'm the villain and that Beatrice is like this perfect girl, even though she's a fat liar, she's like, I'll be your villain, I don't care. She's an icon, and I love her. So far, it's going really well. It's sitting at like a 4 for me. Maybe it could be a 4.5, depending on the ending, but that's going really well. And then I also started another book. I started Pony Confidential. So both of these were in my like spooky November, October TBR game video. So I'm actually like reading my TBR, which is really cool. I know, clap for me. So I started Pony Confidential. It's also incredibly good. I think this could be a 4.5 to 5 star. So we're following two main characters. We're following this woman Penny, who is doing her own thing. She's got a husband and a daughter, and she's hanging out at her house doing her thing, whatever. And then the cops come to her door, and they're like, hey, you're under arrest for murder. And she's like, who's murder? Like, what are you talking about? And they're basically taking her to court. They're taking her, driving her like across the country back to her home state, because they're accusing her of a murder that she supposedly committed when she was a kid, of another kid who was a guy. And she's like, that was ages ago, and I didn't kill him. Like, he died, but I didn't murder him. And they're like, we don't believe you. Like, new evidence has come to light or whatever. And she's like, well, what evidence? And they're like, we can't tell you. So she's being like taken across the country by the cops. And then in the other POV, we're following this pony. And it's Penny's pony from when she was a kid. And this pony is vengeful. So basically, during the time of this murder thing, Penny had this pony, and she used to go to the stables all the time and would ride horses and whatever, and her parents finally got her this pony. Well, they used to keep it at the stable, and one day she and this boy she had a crush on decided to go and take their horses into the woods and go on a little adventure, and somehow he ended up dead, but she didn't kill him. And that was the last time she ever saw her pony, because after the murder happened, her parents knew that everybody in the town thought she did it, and they didn't want it like tainting her childhood, so they moved her across the country. And then she never got to see her pony again. And her pony basically ended up having all these different owners after Penny's parents sold him, and he's just had like a rough life. Like, he's gone to some owners who were like super crazy and weird, and it's been a bad time. And so he like has it out for Penny, because he thinks that she just like got tired of him and then like told her parents that she didn't care about him anymore. He doesn't really know like what exactly happened from like Penny's POV, and so he is on this mission to try and track her down to get revenge on her for like ruining his life. And I'm also like part of the way through this one too, and he kind of gets to a point where he's like tracking her scent, and so he will get a new owner, and then he'll kind of catch a whiff of like Penny's scent as she's traveling across the country to go to the court or whatever, and he will like bite his owners on purpose and stuff so that they'll sell him again, so that he can try and get closer and closer to her. So he's like following her. And he still hasn't caught up to her yet as of now, but he ends up getting bought by this one guy who also has, I think it's like a goat and a dog, and they talk to him. Like, the animals talk to each other. He talks to different animals, and but the people can't understand him. And so the dog and the goat are both like, you're an idiot. Like, you left your owner during this whole situation with this boy, because he and the other horse decided to run off once the kids got off, because they like wanted to go run through the forest or whatever. And so the dog and the goat are like, you abandoned your person. Like, this is on you. Like, she did not abandon you. Like, you cannot be vengeful towards her because you're the one who screwed her over and left her by herself. And then something bad happened to her probably. And then he feels really bad. And so I think that's kind of where I'm at now, where like his mindset is kind of shifting around Penny and his revenge or whatever. But either way, he's like still trying to find her. So we'll see if she and her pony end up reconnecting. I imagine that they will, but it's really interesting. It's very well written. I really like getting the pony's POV and also hers, and then you kind of get to piece together what's happening. But I think, at least in the synopsis, it says that he's going to try and like prove that she didn't murder this guy, but we're not there yet. So I think that plot point is more of like the second half of the book, maybe. Anyways, Nellie's here to give her opinion on these fabulous novels. Come here, Elle. Come say hi. Hi. Hi, Tootsie Roll. You're super cute and poofy. She's purring. Can you hear her? She's got a really loud purr, just like Rigby. She says hi. Anyways, so that's where I'm at with my reading. But I'm gonna go finish some books, and I will update you later. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. Hi, sweet girl. Hi, pretty girl. Yeah. Hello, reading update for you. So I finished How to Summon a Fairy Godmother, and it was really, really good. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I will say the ending was a little bit of a downer. Like, our main character Theo is kind of depressed at the end because of how things wrap up after she finishes her third trial for the fairy Cecily, and she feels a little bit like she's been kind of like tricked, which isn't entirely true. There was some stuff that like the familiars and Cecily and the hot fairy guy Lachlan like didn't tell her in terms of like their connections to one another and kind of like some of the stuff that was going on, but it wasn't like they did it to hurt her, if that makes sense. So anyways, at the end she's kind of like butthurt, and also she kind of had this love triangle going on between her and Lachlan and Kaz, the fox shifter guy, and she had really good chemistry with both of them, and she doesn't end up being with either one at the end, and it's kind of like left open, and not in terms of like open as to like who she's gonna pick, but open is in terms of like the fox shifter guy is no longer around and Lachlan is now on her like shit list, and so she's like kind of down at the end, and then it basically is like, oh, and there's gonna be a book 2. And I was kind of bummed by that because I felt like the end could have been stronger, and I kind of thought it was a standalone going in, so I'm glad that there's going to be more books because the characters in here are really good and the world is really interesting, but it was a little bit funky at the end with her like attitude and stuff, but there was also some good stuff at the end in terms of like how things wrapped up with Beatrice. So she and her stepsister Beatrice have had like beef for a long time, and the fairy's last trial for her is to go and give Beatrice a gift, and she like doesn't want to do it. She hates her guts. Beatrice like got her in trouble for shit their whole childhood, and Beatrice's dad, which ended up being Theo's stepdad, was awful to her before he died. So it was kind of like her dad was like abusive to Theo, and then when he died, Theo's mom was like abusive to Beatrice. So it's like all the daughters have been wrapped up in this just like toxic abusive household that negatively affected all of them, and the fairy ended up being able to help them both. But yeah, it was interesting. The magic elements in here were really cool, and I liked that Theo could like go back and forth between the human world and the fairy world, and she fits in a lot better in the fairy world. And it's kind of interesting because she has this harp that she plays that was Beatrice's mom's harp before she died, and so it was just like in the home when Theo and her mom and sister like moved in when she married the Earl, Beatrice's dad. And so she really took to this harp and has played it her whole life and ends up playing it at a party for the fairies. And everybody's like, wow, her harp playing is so good and she knows all these fairy songs. Like, how does she know that? And she was like, oh, the sheet music was just like left in the music room from Beatrice's mom. And then Beatrice is kind of talking to Theo towards the end about like how she found this spell to even summon the fairy godmother in the first place, and she found it in the walls of the house when she was cleaning, like in the music room. And so there's kind of this mystery as to like what is the connection to the fairy world there, and like was Beatrice's mom a fairy, or like what's the deal, or did she summon a fairy before, or like what? So it's interesting, and Theo ends up making a lot of friends in the fairy world, and everybody in the human world, in like the, you know, the aristocracy at the balls and stuff she goes to, everybody just treats her like garbage, and they're super rude to her, and the girls are nasty, and they're super fake, and she doesn't put up with that bullshit, so she will pull out the verbal artillery on him, which is well deserved, but she has like actual genuine friends in the fairy world and is really smart and is able to like navigate the fairy court and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So I really enjoyed it. I think if you're into fairies, I think you would really like this story. I think if you like kind of like found family friendships and banter and like angsty love triangle stuff, I think you would really like this, but also it feels like an adult story, if that makes sense. So anyways, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm frothing at the mouth for book 2. I don't know when it's going to be out. I'm assuming 2025, but there's no release date. I think there's a title, but that's all. So that was good. I also read a little bit more of Pony Confidential, and that one's also really good. I've kind of gotten to a part where our main character, Lady Penny, is now like stuck in the American justice system, and she is like awaiting trial to see if they're going to accuse her of this murder or not. And apparently she found out that her therapist is the one who told people that she confessed to murdering this guy. And Penny's like, I never said that. She's like, I said that he like died and it was traumatic and it like messed up her childhood because she got pulled away from the town she lived in and away from her pony and stuff. And it's kind of interesting because her pony was like her best friend and they were like super tight. And then once her parents moved them to a different town after the murder of that boy, she like never really opened up to anybody, never made any friends, was super resentful of her parents. And then she met her husband and she never told him about it, about the murder or anything, because her parents were always like, don't talk about it, we want to sweep it under the rug. And so she did. And so her husband doesn't even know. And now she's being taken to New York for this trial and she's in jail, and they're basically like, you're going to be in jail for probably at least like 8 months just to await trial. And she's like, well, I didn't even do anything. And they're like, it doesn't matter. That's how long it takes. Like, the justice system is, like, behind. And she's like, this is crazy. I didn't even do anything. And so she lets her husband know, like, what's going on. But they're separated. And they have a daughter who's, like, 12. And she has, like, a lot of mental health issues. And they, like, shipped her away to a boarding school for, like, mentally ill girls. And so she feels really bad about that. And so her life is like kind of a mess in the first place before she gets accused of the murder thing. And one of the things her therapist was talking to her about is like, when was the last time that you were like truly happy? And she was like, I haven't been like truly happy since I like used to ride my pony at the horse stable, which was like 25 years ago. And so she's kind of just like hidden that whole part of herself. Like, her husband didn't even know she had a pony or that she was like super into riding horses or anything like that. He knows nothing. And she's just very isolated, and it's sad. But then you have the juxtaposition of like the pony's POV, and that one's more like funny. It's still sad because he's missing her and trying to find her, but there's more like funny stuff, and he has a lot of interactions with other animals. Like, he befriends this rat, and the rat helps him get to New York because he knows that Penny's like on her way to New York. And the rat talks to him a lot about what love is, and it's like the rat's trying to get him to realize that like he loves Penny, not in like a weird romantic way, but in like a we're best friend homies kind of way, and I miss her, and my life's not going to be the same until I like, you know, come to terms with our stuff that happened like 25 years ago and like make things right with her and get to see her again and make sure she's okay and that kind of thing. And the rat is like, dude, like, that's love. And the pony's like, no, it's not. So he's very much in denial about like how much he still cares for Penny, even after the way that he thinks that she betrayed him or whatever. So anyways, it's very good. It's sad, but it's also funny, and it's super well written. And the chapters are also really, really short. So we get like a snippet of Penny and then a snippet of the pony, and then it goes back and forth like that the whole time. So I'm still trying to kind of like piece together all the things that are happening, but it seems like Penny's kind of in deep shit with this trial thing because she's also a teacher now, like an elementary school teacher, and people are now accusing her of, you know, murdering this kid, and it's like a cold case, and the kid got his like head smashed in or whatever, and then they never caught the person who did it. And so it's pretty, you know, whatever, true crime, scandalous, whatever, for the third grade teacher girl to get like accused of it 25 years later. So that's kind of happening. And she's like, none of this is true. And I never even confessed that to the therapist. Like, how can they convict me on that? And the lawyers are like, well, we need like witnesses who can like vouch for the fact that you're like a good person and wouldn't do that. And she's like, well, I'm kind of a loner. Like, I've been going through all this stuff with my daughter and all of that. And they're like, well, don't say that you're a loner. Like, somebody has to be able to vouch for you. And she's like, I'm not a bad person. I just, you know, don't have any friends. So it's interesting. But anyways, good book. I'm really enjoying it. And then I also read another story from Of the Flesh, and I read the one called Fruiting Body. I think it's called The Fruiting Body. Anyways, it's super creepy, and it's about a husband and wife who buy a creepy old house. Shocker, I know. And it has this thing in it, and they call it a fruiting body. It's supposed to be like a mold kind of thing that's like above the fireplace in the sitting room, and it's like this rot, and it's like black and gross, and it's like this big thing that's like hanging off the wall. And the wife is like, that's disgusting, but we could buy this house and it could be like a really good fixer-upper house for us and stuff. And she and her boyfriend buy this house, and then well, let's back up. First of all, he's a creep and I hate him. Straight to jail. He's awful. He's abusive. He like forces himself on her when she tells him that she doesn't want to sleep with him. He does it anyways. And he hits her and he gaslights her. So that's fun. And so anyways, whatever. So he forces himself on her like the first night that they're in the house together. And they have like just shown their friends the place and stuff. And she tells him no because she feels like there's somebody else in the room, because they're in their room that has the whatever it is, the spooky mold, and he doesn't listen to her. And then a few weeks later she finds out she's pregnant, and she tells him, and he doesn't take it well, obviously. And basically they're like, okay, we need to move into the house now even though the renovation isn't done because we can't afford the rent and the baby's coming or whatever. And so they do, and he's like a contractor or whatever. He's like fixing up the house, and every time that she's in it, she can like see the mold. She feels like it's like moving, and she feels like the rot is spreading, and she like hears this voice and she thinks it's him, but it's like, is it him? Is the rot like talking to her? Like, what is happening? And then he gets like more abusive the longer that they're there, and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, is he bad, or is the rot like in his head messing with him, you know? It reminds me a little bit of like the September house and like the creepy entity in there that kind of like got into the minds of the husbands and like made them do shit they wouldn't normally do. But very creepy stuff. And one night she like goes downstairs because she has to go to the bathroom, and it looks like the whole wall has like become this rot, and she can feel it like moving through like the crevices of the walls and stuff, and it's very weird and very strange, but very spooky. And the husband keeps like making jokes about like he doesn't think that the baby is his, and then at the end, it's like, well, maybe it's not your baby. Maybe it's a spooky mold entity baby. So that was horrifying. Honestly, the worst part about it was the husband being, like, rapey, not even the, like, creepy mold monster thing. But anyways, interesting, very spooky. All the stories in here have been, like, really well written and really unsettling. And I think it's one of the best anthologies that I've ever read. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, I think that's where I'm going to leave it for this vlog. I read all of How to Summon a Fairy Godmother. I read a few stories in Of the Flesh, DNF'd the lawyer one, the romance one that wasn't any good, and then I also read most of Pony Confidential. So I feel like that's pretty good. So I think I'm going to leave it here for now. If you made it to the end of this vlog, leave me either a fairy emoji or a pony emoji for the books that I read in this vlog, and let me know what you've been reading lately. And I hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving holiday, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!